Fox Sports Ohio's special presentation of John Davidson Revealed. I'm Dave Metzel. When the Columbus Blue Jackets hired John Davidson as president of hockey operations back in October of 2012, the franchise landed one of the game's most recognizable faces and affable personalities. JD, as he is known, has more than 40 years of experience around the rink as a player, as a Hall of Fame broadcaster, and now as a very successful front office executive. When you think about John Davidson, you think of ice hockey. The two are literally synonymous. After 40 years of professional hockey experience, and still counting, Davidson himself is wowed by just how much the game has done for him.
Thank you very much.
Well, I remember one time sitting in Madison Square Garden as a broadcaster up in the way up there in the box, and the broadcast gondola, getting ready to do a game. It was actually about an hour and a half before the game, and looking down, there was nobody in the building. I said, what the heck am I doing here? I'm just a kid who liked hockey, grew up in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada, Western Canada, and I'm in New York City, Madison Square Garden, going to do a Rangers hockey game in the NHL. What is going on? And it just kind of, it's still in some ways disbelief as to what I do. And I think when you think about roots, I go back to the province of Alberta. I came from a family of really great parents, in particular my mother, but we didn't have much. We were on the other side of the tracks. With that being said, I had aspirations of maybe being something to do with outdoors, maybe a conservationist type person, or one of those game warden guys, maybe something along those lines. I love the outdoors, and I never would have seen the world like I've seen the world. Man alive, you think back, I've been able to broadcast 5 Winter Olympics all over the world. I've been able to play hockey in Sweden and Finland and Czechoslovakia when it was the other side. It was communism then. That was some story, So just all these things they all have one common denominator, and that's hockey.
Born in Ottawa, the son of a police officer, Davidson and his 3 brothers spent the long frozen Canadian winters, just like every other kid in Canada, on skates.
So all we did was skate, whether it be on lakes or rivers or streams, for miles and miles and miles and miles all day long. The only other thing that kept us away from it was school. And that's where you sort of fell in love with skating and hockey, and then they started showing NHL hockey on television more so than they had in the past. And watching the NHL on Saturday nights on Hockey Night in Canada really just gives you an inner drive that that's what you want to do.
By age 16, Davidson was a standout goalie for the junior team in Calgary. His progression through Canada's junior leagues put him on a fast track to the National Hockey League. The St. Louis Blues selected Davidson with the 5th overall pick of the 1973 NHL draft. He became the first ever goalie to go directly from major juniors to the NHL.
I didn't know a lot about life, and I certainly learned a lot about life in a hurry, but it probably would have been a more stabilizing situation had I played a little bit in the minors and just learned about life in general and how to go about business and doing things the right way. We had agents, but they were kind of distant, and your family wasn't there, and the whole thing along those lines. I know when we see kids that come up now, if they do make the jump, we've really got to be careful about who they live with, how they live, and how they learn about life, even though they're more advanced and more prepared for it today.
While playing for the Blues and just 20 years old, Davidson made the best save of his young hockey career when he married his girlfriend, Diana.
He spent, back in those days, enormous amount of money on long-distance phone calls, calling me, and I think it was like $10,000. So when you're talking 41 years ago, that's a lot of money. Or if it would have been 43 years ago. So he said, you're probably cheaper if I marry you. Well, little did he know. Yeah, my father tried to warn him.
After 2 uneventful seasons in St. Louis, Davidson was traded to the New York Rangers following the 74-75 season. Playing in New York required a thick skin and instant results to keep those callous New York fans happy.
I would recommend to any athlete, if you have a chance, play some time of your career in New York, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, it doesn't matter. And if you can handle it and get through it, you can do anything you want in your life. If you can't handle it, it'll chew you up, spit you out, knock you to the gutter.
All right, now the Foreigner song. This is one of my favorite stories. How many guys have a rock song that's basically the roots are in something that happened to you? Just explain what happened there.
Well, I didn't know the Foreigner people. I knew their music, of course, and they wrote a song called Double Vision. And I found out later that we were playing a game, and they were locked up in a hotel somewhere in Manhattan, and they had the game on television as they were writing music, trying to write music for a new album. And I took a shot right between the horns, and down I went, and it was a nasty one. And they were watching and writing, and I was dizzy and wobbly and all this stuff, and they came up with Double Vision because I got hit in the head with a puck and was knocked silly, and they saw the wobbliness and probably double vision, which is probably accurate, and that's how the whole thing came about.
Davidson's playing career came in 1979. Hobbled by an injured knee, Davidson led the Rangers to the Stanley Cup Finals, where they would eventually lose to the Montreal Canadiens. Davidson would play only 4 more seasons with the Rangers before calling it quits at the end of the 82-83 season because of chronic knee injuries.
We talk about opportunity, and one of the things you have to remember is when you're young, like I was, you think it goes on forever, it doesn't. So every year you play, if you don't get in the playoffs, that's a year of your career gone. If you get in, you have a chance. Nowadays in particular, because there's a lot of parity there. But you got to get in. If you don't get in, there's another tick off the calendar where you're a year older to try to do it again next year. But you only have a certain amount of years, and it may be 4 or 5. If you have an injury, it could be 18 or 20 if you're lucky as can be, and a great player. But you have to look at this. There is a bookend somewhere. You don't know where, but there is. There's a start and there's a finish. It doesn't go on forever. And we try to really tell our players that.
So many different ways, and it helped us battle through this too.
We have a rescue dog that's a pit bull mix, and they kind of remind me of each other. The pit bull mix was found in a park in St. Louis, all curled up, nothing but bones. They thought it was dead. They were actually picking him up, and he opened his eye, and they took him to the vet, and they saved him. And now he's with us, and along with another dog we have, a lady. She's a great dog too. But what he's come through, and then you take what sometimes we in our business put our wives through, traveling all over the place, moving, selling houses, buying, raising kids on their own, blah, blah, blah. And then she's a survivor in the cancer world. They just sort of remind me of each other. They just battle through life, enjoy life, always got a smile, and it's worked out pretty well. I'm pretty lucky that way too. I've been lucky though. I grew up in Calgary, which is a marvelous city in Western Canada. I spent time in St. Louis twice. I played hockey and did television and all kinds of different things in New York for close to 28 years. And of course, as I said, twice with St. Louis, I went back there, then on to Columbus. And it's been different jobs all the way along the line. And you sort of reinvent yourself, but it's been a great ride. I love Columbus as much as I love St. Louis, as much as I love New York. It's my sincere hope that as we move along, our sport is getting bigger. It's getting wealthier. Players are paid a lot more than we ever dreamed of being paid. I don't want them to lose that commonality of what the past did for them today, and treat the game and people with that same sense of respect. And this game will be great for a long time, but they have to do their part.